We're going to continue now with Women Launch the Vote Drive, another story on the front of The Australian tomorrow. A campaign led by Australian professional women will pressure Scott Morrison and Anthony Albanese throughout the election to exclude transgender women from single-sex sports and women-only spaces. The Respect My Sex If You Want My Vote drive will launch online on Friday, pushing voters to write to their local candidates on whether they support sex-based rights for women and whether they are concerned that trans women are allowed to compete in female sports. I'm going to bring in our guest, Karalee Katsambanis. We've had a couple of tech issues. We've kind of like the ALP campaign at this point in time, Karalee. But look, this trans issue, it is blowing up over in Sydney. It came out of the seat of Warringah with Catherine Deves sort of kicking off after being selected and pre-selected as a Liberal candidate. This movement, which will be launched tomorrow, do you think it's going to have legs here in Australia? It's come out of the UK. We've seen the issues in the US. Australians, do you think we are open to a very mature discussion and legislation potentially around trans people competing in sports?
Well, I hope we are. And Jenna, I like the words that you used. Are we open to a mature discussion? Because my worry is that we should be, but will we be? Because unfortunately, we're living in a society now where people might be clumsy with their words. They might not mean any misintention, but it's completely jumped on by the left and words are twisted around. We've seen Emma McEwen come out with the swimming saying that she wouldn't feel comfortable competing against a transgender woman, someone who is biologically male. And I just think that that we need to have the debate on it. We've seen, in New South Wales that, a Greens independent has said, that they won't guarantee Dominic Perrottet's support in the parliament, not that that person can actually guarantee supply on any issue. But I think, yes, we do need to have a discussion. And I think as to why it is such a contentious discussion is that people are too scared to actually say what they feel. I mean, Catherine Deves, she has opened up a Pandora's box. But the reason why it is so topical is that as many people that might be offended by it actually do support what she says. And if we can have a mature discussion where no one is accused of being racist or being homophobic or denying somebody their rights, if we can actually agree that this is a very, very difficult issue that doesn't have a finality, and if certain people do hold certain views, they can't be demonised. We live in a democracy. So going back to your original thing, yes, I hope that we can have a discussion on it. And I think that people should be entitled. The thing that's being launched tomorrow, by all means, let's see what they stand for. Let's actually hear and see what they're saying and see if there's any merit to it as well, because it does need to be discussed.
Yeah. Do you think, Karalee, that given that this topic has now been, front page news for the better part of a week, do you think it is time that we just said, because I think a lot of the argument from the other side of this point of view is the fact that it is very harmful when we have these discussions in the crosshairs of an election campaign. Is it time potentially to make sure that we are balancing those views? So we are having trans activists, we are having people that have lived experiences of this also having their fair share of the conversation, but then again, you then run the risk of then having the complete news cycle overtaken by this one issue.
Absolutely, but I also think it's fair that if there are female athletes out there at the moment that say that people that are born biologically male, they don't want to actually compete against them, I think that the question should be asked to those people, why do you feel that way? I mean, I'm a mum, I've got girls who play football, and I can tell you that boys that are the same age, the differences are quite, are quite apparent. But it's not to say that each person's views are not valid. But I actually think that in this case, people's views are being drowned out who actually do want to say, no, I don't feel comfortable if transgender athletes compete, in a female sport. I think that those views are being drowned out because people are making more of it than what it actually is, and people are making it other things, and there's a massive pile-on that's actually going on. I mean, I do have to note that, Zali Steggall, Olympic medalist, it may have been a completely different story when she won her medals if perhaps she was beaten by somebody who was a transgender athlete. That question has not been asked to her because people worry about what her response will be, and she's perhaps been saved from having to give a response.